Growing up black in the UK and growing up black in the US are two totally different experiences.
Where are you from, Rihanna?
California.
So what is your biggest culture shock living in the UK?
Black British people are always asking me where I'm from. And then when I tell them America, they're like digging for more. And
Like, Americans are very forward,
Yeah.
very direct. What you see is what you get. British people, we kind of do the typical British thing where we try to not give too much.
Yeah.
Quite reserved.
So I feel like racism is more pronounced in America. Disease is still there. It's the same disease, but it just manifests in a different way. And British culture is way more reserved, so it's more systematic.
You can't be black and confident in England because you're automatically seen as cocky.
Well, as a black person, I definitely don't fit. I don't feel like I belong. I feel like an immigrant, basically, even though I was born here.
Growing up black in the UK and growing up black in the US are two totally different experiences. Like for me personally, I learned what it was to be black living in America. As y'all hear me, like I have an American accent as well as everyone else in my family. I blended in very well, like better than everybody in my family. There's a lot of people that thought like, oh, I was just like from Charlotte or from Kinston or like I was from the States. But as I kept on talking and like sharing, like, boring my story, people understood like, oh, nah, he actually not from here. But like one big thing about like living in the States, about like being black, your blackness can speak for you. Like you can be black out loud. It doesn't matter. Like nobody can take that away from you. But being black in the UK is almost like I'm not gonna say you have to like dim your light, but it's almost like you have to conserve your blackness out here. Like funny enough, I kind of realized this the other day. It's not socially acceptable to be a coon as a black person in America. But in the UK, it's more socially acceptable and people won't bat an eye at you because it's just like, why not? I don't know, it's weird. It's weird.
Where are you from, Rihanna?
California.
So what is your biggest culture shock living in the UK?
Black British people are always asking me where I'm from. And then when I tell them America, they're like digging for more. And there's not more because the whole slave trade.
Literally yesterday I had a video about this and they don't understand.
Yeah, and they're like, you're not from Jamaica? I'm like, bro, there was a whole slave trade. Like, I don't know where I'm from.
And they almost shame us for not knowing.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, you think it was my choice? That for not knowing? They took our last name.
We don't have a culture, we don't have food, we don't have a language, we have nothing, and that's not our fault.
I would say we have a culture though. I feel like
Yeah.
black Americans have a culture now with the
To some
music,
extent.
the food.
Yes, but there's not like how they have a culture,
Exactly.
and they don't understand
And they
that.
can't.
I went to LA last year, and culturally, Americans and Brits, black Americans and black Brits are so different. Like, Americans are very forward,
Yeah.
very direct. What you see is what you get. British people, we kind of do the typical British thing where we try to not give too much.
Yeah.
'Cause
Quite reserved.
there
Can't
is
be too
this.
excited.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
get branded as, he's a beg, or he
Yeah.
does too much. And then that then seeps into how people date. It's very hard for people to be their unapologetic self because
Yeah,
if
that's
it's
like
like,
with your flowers. It's like, of course,
Yeah,
he's
that
going to
was
send
cute.
24
Full
flowers.
flowers, and I was thoughtful. They
course.
were cooking me like I
saying
was
no.
fried rice, and I couldn't understand it. But at the same time, I'm at the game there, no.
This is it.
So I feel like racism is more pronounced in America. Disease is still there. It's the same disease, but it just manifests in a different way. And British culture is way more reserved, so it's more systematic. I think in America you have the systematic and then you have the overt. But also the history of America is to do with race relations. Whilst a lot of the people that are within London have come from, like my family's from Uganda, come from Africa, come from Caribbean. So they've come from this culture and they've kind of like usually come from the Commonwealth and have been colonized by the West. So we're like navigating that. But it's why a lot of black British artists are in America. It's not seen in England, but it's felt and it's oppressive and it stops you from becoming your best you at times.
So you would say the overt is bad, but the hidden is maybe...
No, I think racism's just sucks, isn't it? Across the board, isn't it? Like, no matter how it comes out, it's kind of shit.
In regards to the whole Diane Abbott situation, number one, feminist groups, it's time to stand up and be counted because you lot are hella quiet right now. Number two, black people, on an economic standpoint, we need to get organised. We need to put our money together so we can get us some respect and economic power.
Yes.
We need to, number three, then put real people in positions of power, not people like Nana or Kemi who don't know who they are because they are dancing to the fiddle of Massa. If you want to keep telling us we're 4%, then our 4% needs to rise up and be known. You're going to feel the 4% in England and in the UK because we're going to come together. We need to do this now, because if we don't do it now, it's only going to get worse, because today it's statements of what you want to do. Tomorrow it's going to be done. We saw what happened with Jo Cox. She's an MP, a woman as well, that was killed. We want to protect Diane Abbott at all costs. She must stay protected.
Yes.
The difference between racism in Europe and racism in the USA is that Americans know when they're racist. So, for example, they know they can't use the N-word because it's a bad word, you know. But here in Europe, Europeans see the N-word as just a term to describe black people. I had a conversation with a Belgian girl the other day, and she asked me, do I have a problem with people who use the N-word? I said, yes, obviously. And then she said, yes, I understand, but why? Because when someone calls me white, I don't feel offended. And that just hit me, you know, because they really do see it as just a word to describe black people. They don't know the negative connotation with the word, you know. So that's why it's deeply rooted in their culture, because white people here in Europe, they use the N-word many times. For example, they just use it to describe, they see it as a word to describe black people. Another time a man told me, why can't we use the N-word? How else do you describe a black person? And yes, so when people say racism doesn't exist anymore, yeah, this was something else.
You can't be black and confident in England because you're automatically seen as cocky. The way that the British framework is laid out is that you have to be meek and mild to be awarded certain opportunities. A friend of mine in America was asking why a certain football player gets a bad rap. And I said it's because he's black and confident. And it's because he's got a black mum, but we'll save that conversation for another day. The thing is, if you are unapologetically black, you speak on black issues, British media sees that as being a bit of a troublemaker. You're stirring the pot and they're uncomfortable. So they'll use buzzwords to discredit you and make sure that your reputation is on the floor. They'll say that you're hot-tempered. They'll say that you're raw talent as a way of discrediting all the hard work you've done. And we'll use words like, oh, a troublemaker. What does that even mean? Unless you are smiling from cheek to cheek, you are laughing at all the jokes, and you make sure to point out on every occasion possible that you are so grateful to be here, to be allowed in these spaces, then you are seen as cocky, and cocky people can't be rewarded. You can't build legacy on that. That's England.
Well, as a black person, I definitely don't fit. I don't feel like I belong. I feel like an immigrant, basically, even though I was born here. I'll tell you that much.
What do you think are certain things that have contributed to that feeling?
The way I'm treated, job.
It goes on, man, the racism, man, but it's very political, the way they go about it.
This is being a black person in this country. It's just my personal experience on a day-to-day, how people treat you, how people look at you on the train, on the bus. You know, definitely work is a big contributor to that you're an outsider.
British girls and the black American girls are fighting. And perspective from obviously me being a black American woman. Also, I grew up on the outsides of Chicago. I've lived in Miami. I live in New York City, and I'm well-traveled. So those are my credentials to say that. I've lived in different places for extended amounts of time, and I've met a lot of different people more often than not. Black Americans, we are not groomed to feel a way about other black people, meaning if you're black and you come from Africa, or you're black, you come from, wherever, we are not groomed to feel a way toward anybody else. If anything, we are groomed that a black person, we blackity black, like we down, like you down, we down, okay? However, people from other countries seem to already have a preconceived prejudice against black Americans. Oh, we lazy, we da-da-da-da, we ghetto, da-da-da, all these things. A lot of things that one might think, hey, this sounds a lot like what Western media would portray a black person to be. So there you have that. I feel like this is where the tension starts to come, because certain comments and things that then, like toward black Americans, that then trigger a response. And then this is how we get into these back and forth. As a black American, you're not really groomed to feel a way about other black people, except more so acceptance. And therefore, y'all not really on our minds like that. Like in a situation that's happening in the fights, like, again, no shade, no tea, but Black British girls are not like, that's not what we worried about. Anything like what I'm gonna think about a Black British girl, I like, first of all, makeup be eaten down, okay? So you're dressing cute. And obviously y'all have like a really nice accent. But other than that, there's appreciation, there's love. But there usually isn't like I can't, what? I don't think that Black Americans feel that we're the cream of the crop of Black people. I mean, let's call a spade and let's be 100 about it. Like, the culture that Black Americans have built in this country is often replicated, duplicated, gentrified, repackaged, repurposed, all the things. Possibly part of that is Western media, but a lot of the things that we have created over the times within this country then get spread worldwide. The looks or the music that has such an impact on everybody. We believe that we're the cream of the crop, but I do think that we know that we have, contributed to some things in this world. Seems that every time, every which way we turn, like getting bust upside the head by somebody, we get it enough from the white people in every other race, but then it's like now more Black people feel away. And honestly, it's not just Black British girls that are saying things or whatever. This is like Black people from the Caribbean, West India, and Black people from Africa. Like, everybody got something to say about a Black American. A Black American, like, we just trying to vibe. Can we just all get along?
What would you say is a tough experience that you...
Integration disrespect.
So I just got done watching this live of this Black British girl talking about how Black Americans, we think that we're superior over all Black people, and that we don't even realize that in their land there's people who came during Windrush, which is when a bunch of Caribbean people came to the UK to work for their oppressor, and that there's people who came during that time who are getting sent back to the Caribbean, and that we don't understand our privilege. And it made me realize where all this like online friction between a lot of Black British people towards Black Americans coming from. It's coming down to jealousy. I try to tell everybody the difference between Black British people and Black Americans is that Black British people have an immigrant story. They have an immigrant background. Whereas in America, Black Americans, we're not looked at as foreign. When somebody asks you if you're a Black American, where you're from, and you say Chicago, that person who's not Black is gonna say, oh, okay, cool. My cousin's from there, my aunt's from there. But over there in the UK, when they're asked where you're from, they always get hit with, no, where are you really from? Because they're not welcomed in this country that they defend so hard. So again, I put this anger towards jealousy because it's displaced anger. Because once again, the reason why Black Americans are looking at Black British people crazy about y'all making jokes about running from getting your ass beat over a soccer game and that we don't get your humor is because you'll never see Black Americans joking like that. Because if that actually were to happen in real life, we pull out folding chairs, we pull out them bows, you know what I'm saying? But this is what happens when you have a lack of community. Instead of coming towards Black Americans, you need to build community towards yourselves. But y'all don't have it because, first of all, y'all have y'all own issues, such as Caribbeans versus Africans. I said this all stems down to jealousy because, once again, the one thing traveling overseas I had realized is that Black Americans really are the face of Black people globally. I mean, in the UK, they just had the Wireless Fest where almost 90% of the acts were from America. Most of the audience were Black British people. This comes down to community. See, in America, you can have all these type of Black American type of celebrities because we have something called community. In the UK, you have to look a certain type of way if you want to be Black and seen out there. You have to be mixed, you might have to be light-skinned, or you have to talk in a certain way that best makes the population of UK comfortable. See, in America, you can have a SZA, a Summer Walker, a Money Long, a Coco Jones, dark-skinned girls who sell music and are out there in the mainstream. But out in the UK, they don't have that because they don't have community. Instead of creating diaspora wars, because that's really what y'all create, put all that energy into fighting back and creating something for yourself in a country where y'all went to, where these are the same people who oppressed you in the first place. No, and that's the thing I have an issue too with Black British people is that y'all will say Black Americans think they're this, Americans think they're that, they think they're better. How is that when y'all, the first thing y'all love to scream on this app is that, oh, we know where we're from. But once again, because I need to make sure this bubble is broken, if you are a Black British Caribbean person or that comes from Caribbean descent, you do not know where you come from. For example, if you're from Jamaica, if that's where your grandparents or your great-grandparents are from, England They named you who you were. They named what your country was called. They put you on a ship to go work out there and go dig up some sugar cane so they could be rich and live in castles. So how do you know where you come from when people put you on a ship and sent you to a place that you claim you come from? You're not from there. You're from somewhere else. You just don't know where that ship came from.
I've been seeing a lot of TikToks from UK Brits, especially the black ones, that are like, yes, Americans have left the app, we can have peace, we can seize the land, we can take over the whole of social media now, we got an opportunity. 12 hours of the TikTok ban while you make your video cussing out Americans and they're gonna come back and see it. Why? I don't understand it. What I do understand from a more self-awareness point of view with black Brits versus black Americans is that it's an issue of racism that impacts both black Brits and black Americans differently. You have to understand the historical context first. When you look at black Americans, a lot of their content is kind of centered on deconstruction, decolonizing, slavery, understanding who they are, because they don't have connection to their identity. So they've had to understand their identity through deconstructing slavery. Whereas black Brits, we don't have to do it because we have connection to who we are. But a lot of our conversations tend to go on colonialism, colorism, understanding things around the Windrush generation. I'm not even going to touch on that idiot Nigel Farage. I will in the next video maybe. If you ain't seen it, you'll see it. But yeah, we tend to focus on things like that. We cannot debate the way in which the black Americans are more unified than black UK people. Let's think about it. Whenever there is an injustice in America, no matter what it is, people come together. Over here, yeah, we are together for 3 weeks or 2 weeks, and then it's on to the next, and then it's, we got to do better, we got to do this, we got to do that, and nothing ever comes because we don't lead with intention. The only thing that I can see as intention has been Chris Gable. Like, there have been a lot of people who continually, that I know personally, campaigning for what's happened. Again, differences. In America, you can learn about American black history. We didn't learn nothing about British black history or the black poppy, or understood how, when I mean black poppy, if you don't know it, the black men and women that served in the war. There were black men and women from the UK that served in the war, but they're never honoured. You know, things like that. We tend to often have to navigate this through a hybrid way of being black and British. Whereas I look at myself as black and British, but I have a heritage of being Caribbean because I've been very connected to the Caribbean, being Jamaica for me. I grew up with my grandmother who passed at 114. So the things I learned about Jamaica, my understanding was grounded in history. So I tend to say a lot of old school things that when the older generation hear me say it, they're like, how do you know that? You're too young to know that. But again, I got raised by someone who was there through World War I and World War II. So, you know, it's very interesting when you kind of have that layer of history. Some don't know who they are or where they come from or what they're about. So often they can only take the British history of what they learned, which is his history. For example, the US tends to be very US-centric. It's all about them as a black person, as identity, whereas I feel black Brits, we travel and we get around and we learn these things. We learn about different types of black people because guess what? Equity means that we started differently. We're not all the same. But whenever I've gone to America, when the Queen was alive, people say to me, oh my God, do you know the Queen? Why would I want to know her? I'm aware of myself. Why would I want to know the Queen? And to some that hear this may feel offended because they're into the royal family, don't give a heck. I never wanted to meet the woman. That was just me. But it speaks to the narrow-mindedness of some Americans. And as soon as they say about food and comparisons about food, about bangers and mash and beans, it makes me know that they're not aware of black people. They're not aware of how diverse the UK is and how connected in culture we are compared to what they are. And that's not a complaint to diminish in America. But to end, I don't know how black Brits could be so happy that Black Americans are leaving the app because we know that Black America influences the world. And that's just the facts. Whenever they do anything, we copy it. They are trendsetters. And that's the reality. The shift can be we can become trendsetters, but we can't do it in silos. One has to work together. But America's already got that unpacked where we are still behind. Let me know what you think. Did it make sense? Do you feel like I was reaching? That's fine, tell me. We'll have a conversation in the comments.